Hello, everybody. This is Megan,
And this is Alana.
and welcome to Tea Time Crimes. Hello, welcome to Tea Time Crimes. Alana brings the tea, I bring the crimes. It's a surprise for everybody. How are you doing today, Alana?
Pretty good. Nice and dry now today after 6 inches of rain yesterday.
And you were out in a fundraiser, right?
Yeah, we were running a Mardi Gras tournament and it was okay at first and then it was just downpour. It was absolutely insane.
Was it a rugby tournament?
Yeah, it was a rugby tournament. We had teams come in from all over, even as far as New York.
Oh, wow.
So it was, we sold out of a lot of merch. We sold lots of gumbo. So it was good.
Wow.
Good for the team, just a little wet.
You had gumbo and merch?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. What kind of merch do you have?
Shirts. We had different kind of shirts. We have socks. We have jerseys, shorts, stickers, magnets, that kind of thing.
Wow. Look at you.
Yeah.
Cool.
Watch out.
Well, any other news? I know you were out all week, had a big travel. Anything else?
Yep. More travel coming up.
Yeah, all you do is travel.
It's really
you must
fun.
be gold status on Delta.
Platinum, actually.
Platinum. There you go. There you go. All right. Well, do you have a tea or any ridiculousness to share with us?
Well, I have a tea from when we had our little vacay together. Well, I just tagged along with your family vacation, so I guess it's not our vacay.
My son says you are our family.
Oh,
I know. It's so sweet.
that's
He says
really
that,
sweet.
and then he banishes you to a porter potty for the end of time. It's weird.
It is.
He likes to Marco Polo Alana and just trash talk her about how she's being locked in a porter potty. And
yeah, it's my worst fear.
Go ahead.
Oh my God. At the tournament yesterday, I was like, there's going to be porta potties. I'm just not going to drink any water. There weren't. It was a real bathroom.
Oh.
Thank God.
For a second, I thought, uh-oh, what'd you do? But
there were woods behind us, so, you know.
Yeah, that's true. Well, again, plumbers are Alana's superheroes.
Truly. Go Mario.
All right, go ahead. So when we went to the mountains, you got a tea?
Yes. It's called Garden of Eden tea. It's fruity, tropical, and bright. So it's black tea with malva flowers, corn flowers, safflowers.
Is that how you say it?
What?
Malva flowers?
Malva.
I'm flashback to Seinfeld when Seinfeld can't remember his girlfriend's name. And it rhymes with a part of the female anatomy. And he's like, is it Malva? Sorry. That's all
gotcha. Yeah, so
guess you're not a Seinfeld fan.
I'm not. I like Curb Your Enthusiasm though.
Really?
It's weird.
That's more hardcore than Seinfeld. Yeah.
Yeah. I think if I watched it today, I would like it, but I never got into it growing up.
Well, you didn't grow up with Roger. Trust me. If you had grown up with Roger, you would have watched it every day.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't on. West Wing was a big one in our household.
That seems more Jackie's speed. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
My dad.
All right, so you got the flowers in it.
Yes, we got the flowers. So I don't know where the fruitiness is coming from. Maybe malva is like I don't know. We'll see. Okay. So I put a dash of milk. It feels like too much milk because I went real pale real quick. So we'll see. It does smell like flowers. Yeah, it absolutely smells like flowers. All right, going in.
All right. I got your bag.
It is fruity. It is very floral, but not in a floral way. It like actually smells like real flowers, not that fake flower smell. So I don't hate that. It feels like, go ahead.
It's black tea, right?
It is. It feels like I'm chomping through a meadow. Lots of wildflowers, some sweet grass.
Reminds me of my sheep days.
There you go.
Yeah.
You'd be in heaven.
Yeah. That's what I am, just a sheep.
Yeah, this is very floral.
It's hard to get black tea, right, with flowers.
Yeah, it is. Did you ever we would pick these, I forget what we called them, but they were like sour. You pick them, they have little yellow flowers. I mean, we grew up in very different environments.
Sure.
Just like in a landscape. They were very sour stems. So we would pick the flower, pick the stem, and like chew the flower. Chew the stem.
Honeysuckle?
No, it wasn't honeysuckle. It was pick them, chew on them, and they're sour. Yeah, we do that a lot. But that's what this reminds me of. It reminds me of those little wildflowers. So,
but was the sour? You say it's sour, but I know you like sour. So did you like the taste of the stem that you were?
Oh
chewing
yeah,
on?
I mean, I kept doing it all through growing up.
Okay, I don't know. We didn't do that in Vermont.
Well, yeah, I would imagine. It's just I don't even know if that grows up there.
I don't know. We don't know what it is, so it's a mystery.
We don't know what it is.
The first
I'm gonna have to
mystery of the
look
episode.
It up. I'd give this a floral thumbs up.
All right. Don't know if you've given that rating before, but I'll allow it to slide.
It's a possibility.
Okay, cool. What was the name of it again?
Garden of Eden.
Oh, that's right. Okay, well, you ready to get in today's case? Then you were quick. You didn't find any possums or any cats.
No. I mean, I wonder how the possum under the shed's doing with that much rain.
You have a possum that lives under your shed?
Yeah.
Of course you do. Okay. I'm just going to jump right in. So the story will unfold. Anne Greene was born in 1628 in England.
Okay.
Way back times. By 1650, she was employed as a scullery maid for Sir Thomas Reed at his home in Dunstew, a small village about 75 miles outside of London. A scullery maid is maybe not the most glamorous job in the world. And most likely would have had to get up very early. She would have had to been the first downstairs, start the fire, start boiling the water for tea. It would have been her job to set out the place settings, clear the meals, all the teas, and possibly, most likely for the other servants. Maybe for the family if it was a small staff or, depending on the size of the house.
Have you seen Downton Abbey?
Yeah, exactly. And it would have been her job to keep the kitchen clean in between this work, washing all the dishes, prepping meals if the cook needed help, and just lots of physical labor and long hours. Now, the Reed family, there's not a lot at the start of the story to really get a good vibe check. I don't know if they have a huge estate, if it's a small manor in the country. I don't know what we're dealing with. I don't know how Anne was treated. The only piece of history that survived regarding Anne is that Sir Thomas Reed had a grandson who noticed the 22-year-old maid. And Geoffrey Reed, the grandson, had an affair with Anne while she was employed for the family.
Was it consensual?
Well, again, vibe check is tough. I don't know. Were they in love? Did it last for months? Was it a one-time thing? Was it consensual? I think it was consensual, but Geoffrey was 17. Anne's 22. Well, 17 is a rough age, too, because nobody really knows. We're just guessing off of birth dates of other siblings.
Oh.
But most of the articles will reference that Anne was seduced. That's the term they use. So I think Jeff probably pursued her for a period of time. And then Anne said it was a while before they became or were together like a man and a woman. What she said was, quote, fair promises and other amorous enticements were what won her over before, other quote, the foul and fearful sin of fornication. I think it was consensual, but I think Anne had some regrets.
Yeah, sounds like it. You know what? Also, I know this is not super important, but it is important for her job.
What?
What do you do for alarm clocks?
I imagine the sun just wakes you up.
I don't know. I wonder if
the rooster.
I wonder if they have an old timey. Okay, I got to look into this. This is pressing.
Maybe I think you just get used to it. I don't ever sleep past a certain time, and if you're just waking up that time every day,
maybe.
Anyway,
don't hit the brandy too hard. Am I right?
Yeah. Well, anyway, back to Anne's real issue, which is that she's had either a one-night stand or some sort of affair with her boss's grandson.
Confabulation, as we call it.
Yes. It seemed to come to an end, the relationship, and again, I don't know how long it lasted. And I don't think Anne was too concerned about it because she had bigger problems. By the end of 1650, Anne realized she was pregnant.
Oops.
She was unaware of the pregnancy until one day, while she was mixing malt, she starts feeling ill.
What's malt?
To make beer. Ale.
Oh, malt. Okay.
Malt. She's in pain. She runs out to the outhouse.
Gross.
And she gives birth to a stillborn child.
What? Whoa. Wait, what?
She has a miscarriage in the outhouse.
How early?
The fetus was no bigger than the palm of her hand.
Okay.
So very early.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, we know from previous episodes, Anne is not in a good position here. But believe it or not, things are even worse at this time than any of the stories we've previously covered. In 1576, right? So this is 1650, but in 1576, a law had been passed that required single mothers receiving any aid from the parish to prove they were actually poor for fear that people were taking advantage. And also, I think so many people were poor that the parish was trying to hog its resources because it didn't have enough. Because of this would sometimes force women to reveal who the father was, and then the parish would try to collect payment from them.
Okay.
This did not go well for anybody. As a result, they saw an increase in infanticide and women starting to conceal their pregnancies. So to stop this behavior, they instead created a law that actually executed women for hiding their pregnancy.
What?
Yeah. So it's punishable by death to conceal your pregnancy.
That's truly insane.
Yeah, just thinking through that, right? They were like, hey, it's pretty uncomfortable to like ask the father for money. So instead, if you don't tell us you're pregnant, we're just going to hang you. Have a nice day. Right?
Unhinged.
Yeah. At the time Anne goes into labor, the Concealment of Birth of Bastards Act of 1624 is on the record.
Oh.
This is what makes it a capital offense to hide your pregnancy if you are single. So I guess if you're
that's stupid.
Married, you can just wear big sweaters for 9 months. This was, of course, to discourage immorality. That was the main cause, right? They're not concerned necessarily about the children. They're just more concerned with the fact that single women are pregnant, which means single women have had sex.
God forbid. Well, it's literally.
Historians estimate that more women were put to death for this offense during the years of 1580 to 1700 than witchcraft.
Wow.
Yeah. And you get
that's fucked.
Same amount of logic flowing through the veins there.
Yep.
Right? There's no safe space for a woman to be other than married and perfectly having children. Like that's it. If you're outside of that box in any way, then good luck to you.
Burn on the stake.
Okay. The only way a woman could avoid the consequences of this law was if she had a reliable witness present at the time of her birth who could say without a doubt that the child was stillborn. If you're already hiding your pregnancy, I don't think you're going to go to an auditorium and be like, hey guys, just want to make sure you guys see this.
Yeah.
Also, in Anne's case, she was unaware she was pregnant. So think about that. This means that women who suffer a miscarriage could possibly be executed, which is what we're dealing with here.
Wow.
And obviously TLCs, I didn't know I was pregnant, is not a thing yet, but it's something that's happening today. Think about in 1650, Anne didn't have sex ed or where babies come from book on her bookshelf.
Right.
She probably legitimately did not know. And often pregnancy, so for the flip side, if you had uterine fibroids or things like that, they would sometimes think you were pregnant and you weren't, right? If you had a reason for your period to stop, which we now know could be a million different things, they would think you were pregnant. So this is not, you don't pee on a stick and are like, yep, there it is.
Right.
It's a lot of a guessing game at this point, and it's not something people are talking about. I 100% believe that Anne did not know.
Yeah.
And even if she did know, it's none of anybody's business, but I'm just saying.
None your business.
Now, keep in mind, this is only if you are not married. If a married woman had a child and that child passed away, they would be considered innocent until proven guilty.
It's just stupid.
A married woman also had the advantage of potentially using the insanity plea because the public could not wrap their brains around how a respectable married woman could commit such a terrible act. It wasn't
a terrible act.
Murdering a child. If the child was dead,
The body just does that sometimes.
It was an easier assumption for the public to make that the married woman, right, that didn't commit murder either.
I'm so over people.
There was an accident, or the child was sick, or the mother had mental health issues. Those were more readily available for the perspective of the public at this time for married women.
No.
But unwed women, it's the opposite. An unwed woman is all of the bad words that connect incorrectly sexuality with morality. And it's assumed that she murdered the child unless she could prove otherwise. So she's assumed guilty and has to prove her innocence.
Right.
Science
makes sense.
is not the star of the show right now.
Of course not. It's religion.
How are they going to prove this?
Jesus Christ.
They aren't, right? They pretty much aren't. One of the most common medical tests performed was to take the lungs of the fetus and see if they float. If they did, then the conclusion was the child had taken a breath. 1, this is not super reliable. 2, if they've taken a breath, it does not mean that they were murdered.
No.
The two things aren't connected.
No, they could just be too weak.
They could
especially if you're really early.
Yes, and you're getting 1650s medical care.
Yeah, that's not a good indication of anything.
So here's the kicker. Let's say you can prove you're single, you're pregnant, you've given birth, you can prove that the child was a stillborn. Let's say Anne had given birth right there in the kitchen, everyone had seen it, right before tea time was served. Her sentence would then be reduced to concealing a pregnancy, which still punishable by death.
What a joke. Get out of there.
The only way women could avoid the concealment portion of this law is by proving that they prepared for the upcoming birth of the child in some way, which usually meant if they bought linens, they were good. They were like, well, I bought a sheet for him, so.
Wow. Okay.
I'm pregnant.
Perfect.
But Anne didn't know she was pregnant.
Yeah.
Also, even if she did, again, come on.
Yeah, this is... The absence of logic and reason is astounding. Like
It's maddening.
What are smart people doing right now in this day and age? I don't know.
Where's Winthrop from?
They're missing
witch trials. Like, we need somebody like him to be like, you know what, guys? Let's just pause. I think the only people who are saying to the contrary are midwives. And they're not being believed.
Because they see the real deal.
Yeah, because they're there. They're like, hey, we've done this a few thousand times and we've seen some shit. And they're like, yeah, but you still don't have a penis, so I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
but we can't believe you.
Yeah, exactly.
The view on the law would start to change around the 1700s when people start realizing that hiding a pregnancy is not sufficient for a death sentence.
Psychos.
They also start to understand, to an extent, the physical effects of childbirth. Now, don't get me wrong. Nobody is writing a groundbreaking article on postpartum depression here, but they are thinking like, it's pretty physically taxing to deliver a child. And we've also noticed that sometimes some women will become, and then they'd insert a word that's really offensive today, like hysterical after they give birth. Like, they're like, they seem upset after they give birth. Because we know postpartum is a real thing. And your body's adjusting, hormones are adjusting.
I mean, your chemicals are going haywire.
Your body has done this unbelievable thing, and it's like, I'm going to need a minute.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's worse for some women than others, and they're kind of like, you know what, we've noticed some things, but women seem upset sometimes. Anyway, they finally also start to draw faint connections between the situations single women face. This is doing very little to help Anne because she's 100 or 150 years away from this changing.
It's not helpful for her. But you know what's not helpful for me?
What?
All the Single Ladies by Beyonce is running through my head this whole episode now. So,
well,
try not to get distracted.
I mean, it's a fair point. At that point, if you like it, you should put a ring on it.
Back then, for sure, to protect her.
Sure, to keep, like, literally life or death.
Oh, God.
It still applies. So the law won't actually change until 1803, even though the public opinion changed. Yeah, I know. The public opinion changed, and in the 1700s, they were kind of lax on it. They were like,
that was not that long ago.
Well,
if you think about it, it's wild.
But the concealment, or the punishment for concealment, would change from death to 2 years. Still stupid.
Still outrageously dumb, but better.
I could be pregnant with 5 children, and it's none of your business. I'm not.
Also, yikes.
Yeah, also no thank you.
Pass.
Even as the laws shift from 1690 to 1799, so before the law actually changes, but while the public perception is changing, 196 trials happened at the Old Bailey, and 62 were found guilty.
That's so fucked up.
It's still affecting a lot of women, yeah.
Did they fix that and make reparations? Do some apologizing.
Now, remember, the main motivation here is to really hamper immorality. It's like, come on now. You cannot have sex
because
unless
it's
you're married.
moral to execute someone who's pregnant or like hiding a pregnancy, but it's immoral to follow sexual desires.
God, please don't say that phrase again. But yes.
Sexual desires.
God. An article by Samantha Dix, Infanticide in the Early Modern Period, the 1624 statute, starts talking about how the idea of this law was really meant to try to control women that were viewed as not respectable. And these are huge disclaimer. Yeah, exactly. So, but ironically, it didn't do that because women who were already viewed as not having a good reputation just didn't give a shit. And they were like, well, I'm pregnant. You can know about it if you want. What are you going to do about it? You know what I mean?
Gotcha,
they just kind of did what they did and they just kept on living their lives. But women like Anne, who were poor, and still viewed as respectable and hoping to, find somebody to put a ring on it, had the biggest issue because their world would crumble if it came out that they were pregnant. So it was affecting maybe a different population than was originally intended. And I bet you if you were respectable and wealthy, I bet you it also didn't touch you. I bet you could find somebody to marry real quick.
And I'm sure they're not consulting any women when they're making these laws.
Oh yeah, they got a panel of midwives on there. Yeah. So anyway, it's not, there's still women running around being pregnant, and what are you going to do about it? Anne, who's just given birth in an outhouse, is terrified and realizes her life is at risk. She could see that the child was not alive.
Yeah.
And she decided to hide the body.
Okay.
Unfortunately, another servant somehow discovered the body. And he told Sir Thomas Reed.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Who...
Also, fuck you, snitch.
I know, right? Yeah.
Mind your own business.
Go back to your work. He reacted as you might expect.
Yeah.
Like a jerk. And he insisted Anne be arrested.
I can't do it.
Even though it's his great-grandchild.
Right. But they probably didn't believe her when she said that.
Yeah, they probably didn't. Or they believed her and thought that she murdered his great-grandchild, I guess. For 3 weeks, Anne awaited her trial in jail. She's terrified. She's scared beyond belief.
Yeah, jail conditions are awful.
She's also just had a miscarriage, so her internal chemistry is probably not tip-top shape. She probably doesn't feel great.
Right, her physical health might not be very good.
Yeah, it might be affecting her mental health in addition to being in the most stressful situation of your life. At the trial, there is very little Anne can do to fight the impending doom. The father is her boss's grandson, so wiggle room is not there, and he's not knocking on the door to put a ring on it. He's not interested in marrying Anne. I don't even know if he admitted to it.
But it's fine for him.
Yeah.
Nothing. He didn't do anything wrong.
Mm-hmm. Now, Anne does have a midwife testify at her trial on her behalf, and she said the development of the fetus, there's no medical way that the child could have been alive because it just was not developed enough. Yeah. Employees also testified that Anne had no idea she was pregnant and her health was not that of someone carrying a child. I don't know if she just wasn't showing any signs or if she was still having her period possibly and they weren't allowed to say that word because they don't say that word. But everybody in the house was like, yeah, there's no signs that she was pregnant.
Why is it called period?
I don't know. Okay. It is weird.
It is. Is it a period of menstruation? Or is it a period? Okay, I'll get graphic.
Anyway, the testimonies were not enough, and Anne Greene was found guilty and sentenced to death.
No. Run to Ireland.
On December 14, 1650,
no.
Anne Greene was prepared for execution.
No.
Method of execution is hanging at this time, but they don't have what they call the long drop technique in practice yet.
Oh no.
Which is what they adopted later on, where they would drop somebody from a height, it would break their neck
higher.
They would be unconscious, and then it would be very quick. Because they don't have that.
Oh no.
It was common
like torture
for people to ask friends and family to hang on them and speed up their inevitable death.
Oh, that is so wrong in so many ways.
Anne was
Just shoot her.
Exception to this, and several people pulled on her legs, and she was said to move for close to 30 minutes.
No.
A soldier
I don't like that.
present at the execution additionally gave Anne several blows to the torso with the butt of his gun. I think it was an act of mercy, but I'm not 100% sure. Her body was
Do it to her head.
I don't think you can reach.
Oh.
Her body was taken down after an hour, and she was pronounced dead.
That's disgusting. That's the fucking immoral behavior here. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah. Just like with Eliza Ross from our recent episode, Anne's body was put in a coffin, taken to an anatomy school for dissection. That's what they did.
Because it's considered, a shame.
Dr. William Petty received Anne's body. He opens up the coffin, and he's like, she's kind of warm.
No.
And then a sound escaped from Anne's throat.
No.
A man stomped on her chest, thinking he was helping, and doctors stopped him because they realized Anne Greene was still alive.
This is a nightmare.
Yeah.
I don't like this.
Hold on. Dr. Perry switches gears, goes into life-saving mode, which in the year of 1650 is rough and absurd.
I can't imagine.
He starts pouring hot and cold cordial down her throat while he uses a feather to tickle her throat. So you're in good hands. Don't worry, Anne. We're here. Could you imagine? I know. I had to read that like 7 times. Can you imagine that course in medical school?
The feather course?
Yeah. Everybody got their feather for today? All right.
Oh my God.
We're just going to tickle the throat a little bit. They also bloodlet her. They gave her a hot enema. And then finally, they convinced some woman to lay in bed with her, not as a woman and a woman, but as an electric blanket to warm her up.
Oh.
Within 12 hours, Anne was awake and able to respond within 24 hours. Within a month, Anne Greene made a full recovery.
What?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. My next note is just, what? Are you kidding?
I would have rather died.
How brutal of a method is hanging
disgusting.
That she just survived. She was tortured for an hour and obviously never died. The day was unseasonably cold, and then after she was taken down, her body was stored in a very cold room, so it's believed she was in a state of hypothermia, which requires less oxygen for the body. Additionally, she had 2 accidental occurrences of chest compressions that most likely saved her life. So the soldier hitting her with his gun, and then this guy stomping on her chest. It's wild.
I hate it.
I've never heard of this, and
I'd rather be dead.
Really? You wouldn't want us to come back? She can't. To be fair, she can't.
They're gonna just kill her again.
She can't remember any of this. She has amnesia about the moment, so she's got the kindness of not. She has complete recollection up until that moment. Okay, so this put me down a little bit of a rabbit hole, and I have to share real quick with you the story of Marjorie McCall, absolute legend and my new favorite person. Marjorie lived in Ireland with her husband John somewhere between 1695 and 1705. So she gets sick, right? She gets a really high fever. As you might expect, the town's very nervous that this illness will spread and just wipe everybody out. So as soon as she passes away, they bury her.
No.
That very night, grave robbers visit the site of Marjorie McCall. They dig up her fresh grave, open the casket. Her husband, John, had taken all of her belongings except her wedding ring. Her fingers had been swollen from the illness, and he couldn't get it off. Before she was buried, more than one family member tried to pry it off of her finger, and they just could not get it off. So they left it. The grave robbers see it. They try to get it off. They can't. Well, it's a solid gold ring, and they want it.
They cut her finger off.
Yep. They pull out a knife, and they start to slice that finger. Marjorie sits straight up in the casket, screaming, quote, like a banshee. Grave robbers probably poop their pants, and they run away. They're
literally
out of there. So this woman wakes up.
Good on them.
Been in a coma, I assume. She's got a nearly severed finger. She's buried in the freaking ground. And
I can't.
That's
my worst nightmare.
Pulls herself out of the casket and walks home. When she gets home, She'd just been buried. So her husband and her children are at the house mourning for the loss of their mother and wife. And she knocks at the door.
Why would you knock?
I assume it's locked. And she probably didn't get buried with her husky. She knocks, and the father actually says, if I didn't know better, I think that was your mother. She knocks just like your mother. He goes to the door, opens it. Yep, there's a bloody, dirty. The legend splits. Some say he dropped dead right there of a heart attack, and they just buried him in the same plot that she just crawled out of. Others say he fainted and his hair turned instantly white. Either way, he ended up dying at some point because Marjorie remarried and had more children and lived a long life.
What?
Yeah. She's obviously since died, and her inscription on her tombstone says, lived once, buried twice.
What? That's great.
Yeah. I mean, so it's happening. It's happened before. This one's so crazy to me because I can't understand it, but I can kind of understand Marjorie's because you had a coma. People don't know. Yeah. You don't have all of the equipment that we have today.
But don't people in comas have pulses?
Yeah, I mean, you'd think, well, here's the kicker. Her husband was a doctor, so. Oops. But keep in mind, her husband is trained by tickling people with a feather to get them to come back to life. So
feather's not going to help here.
Maybe, I mean, I think everybody's doing the best they can, okay?
Yeah.
This is not a common occurrence, but it did happen. That's why they would have bells on the caskets, right? And they'd tie it to the person's finger. Have you ever heard that? They were worried about burying people alive for similar reasons. And so they would.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Sometimes they
Please don't do that to me.
I don't know that I'll be in charge of your funeral arrangements, but if you'd like to write out a.
Stab me before I go under.
Yeah. Okay.
Just to make sure.
I'm going to walk into the funeral home and be, excuse me real quick. I'm just going to need to view my best friend's body. Just 1 second. Yeah, that'll go well. Thank you.
Puncture, please. The heart and the temple if you really want to.
Okay, we're done here. Anyway, Marjorie's ghost still haunts the cemetery. But back to Anne. So Anne's alive. She's survived.
Poor baby.
A lot of terrible things. Yeah.
Just line her up for death.
It's truly unbelievable that she would survive the execution and survive all the things done to help her because none of those things are helping. But technically, she's in the same legal situation. She'd been found guilty.
Right.
But here's the kicker. Science didn't matter during her trial, and it doesn't matter now. People think Anne's survival is a sign from God.
I know it.
And
I know it.
She was telling the truth, which, maybe it was. Anne shouldn't have to go through this to be believed regardless. But that's where we're at. It also helped that Sir Thomas fell dead a few days after Anne was resurrected. That was just further proof to everybody that he was the worst and she was the best.
Good.
Yep. It also, more than likely, logically, he was the one pushing for this case. And so if he's no longer yelling about it, then I think everybody was fine to say this was a miracle. Let's leave it be. After Anne recovered, she took her coffin home as a souvenir and she moved out of town.
That's weird.
She married and had 3 children.
Good for her.
Ironically, she died in childbirth in her 30s.
Oh.
Yeah, but she still got an additional, nobody knows how old she was, honestly. I would say
they're not going to keep track of that.
10 to 15 years that she wasn't planning on having. And she was able to have children and be married and
talk.
She'll have descendants. Yeah, the fact that she didn't have brain damage is mind-blowing to me.
Well, she might have.
Well, they said she made a full recovery.
Yeah, but the science back then is a joke.
I mean, she might have had some quirks that she didn't have previously.
That's insane.
So she survived her execution. She's not the only person who has, but honestly, I started looking. It was grossing me out so much. I had to stop.
Because scary.
And also looking at people who would be like a Marjorie McCall. But that does still happen sometimes. No. But when it does happen, these people just live for a few more hours typically.
Oh, okay.
And then they pass
because
away.
We're much better at telling people are dead now.
You're not taking a fully healthy person.
No, like if someone's pulse stops and they're not getting blood to their brain for a while and then they wake back up, they have brain damage and they probably, they won't really make it.
Well, lots of times this would happen for people who are terminally ill. And so they might be pronounced dead, and then they come back alive at their funeral, and then they die a few hours later. I know, I can't. I had to stop reading. I was like, you're freaking me out.
Yeah. I would, no.
But
I don't want to do that.
Anne's case is because of the hypothermia.
Yeah.
Because of the weather, because of the cold, and the accidental chest compressions that they think.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's brutal in every way.
Yeah. Unless the feather had more to do with it than we're realizing.
Oh, okay.
Just tickled her throat. I need to read the science behind what they thought was happening.
Like it would wake something up.
Do you think they were tickling on the outside of the throat or the inside?
That's what I'm trying to think.
Because the inside would probably make them gag, which is maybe what they were going for, some sort of reaction. But why are they using a feather? That feather's going to get wet and it's not going to be much of a tickler.
Yeah, and then are they plucking it from what? Is it sanitary?
I think we know it's not sanitary. They're not even washing their hands. They're just going in at this time. I mean, then they were like, "Oh, are you trying to recover? Let me drain all your blood real quick.
Let me stick a tube up your butt.
Yeah.
How about that?
And then pour hot liquid up there. I hope this helps." Honestly, the best thing they did was probably the skin to skin contact. That's the only thing that survived.
Yeah.
They're like, "Hey, if you're cold, you should have skin to skin contact." That's the only piece that was right. That woman saved her life. Again, coming in strong. Yeah, so what do you think? She survived.
I hate it.
Yeah,
I hate it. I hate all of the thought and philosophy governing this time. I hate all the people in charge. It's just so crazy how different men and women are considered back then. It's so disgusting. And immorality is it doesn't make any sense back then either.
It's ridiculous. I mean, to think that somebody was hiding their pregnancy and that was a punishable offense in any way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, reducing it to 2 years, sure, that's an improvement, but that's still ridiculous.
Right. Ridiculous.
2 years. It's a long time.
That is a really long time. Ugh. God, in prisons back then. Brutal.
Yeah. Think about all of the women who weren't lucky enough to survive their execution.
It's disgusting. I hate that part so much.
More women than witchcraft, they think.
That's crazy. Like, I mean, I hate it, but it's really good to bring up because I bet you so many people have never heard of this before.
Yeah.
What a stupid law, you stupid motherfuckers.
Tell us how you
Just
really
hope you guys know that.
That's how you really feel about the 1650 lawmakers. I can't think of words.
They're bad words. I'll help you out there.
Yeah, thank you. They are. Because, I mean, I'm sure there are some women in there who did commit murder. Like, you got the Amelia Dyers. I mean, technically, like, I'm sure there are some women like that. Or some women who committed infanticide. But I bet you there's equal numbers of people who were just trying to hide the birth for their own safety.
I would say there's more numbers.
Yes.
Trying to, even like just the normal.
Or having miscarriages.
Stuff. Or they can't control that. It's really bad.
It's really bad.
It's really, really bad. That's awful and terrifying.
Think how scared she must have been on that day. She doesn't even know what's happening to her body.
Yeah.
She must have been in shock.
That's what I'm saying. Like, women don't really know what's going on. And then they have to go, I mean, you know, if they're lucky, they go through the 9 months of it and it's just the hardest thing ever. But men have no clue back then. Like, they are more understanding and sympathetic now. Obviously, they can't go through it themselves. They probably are just like, yeah, this is women's work, easy stuffs. And it's just like, this is not easy. Make the men do it first. See what the laws they want to make.
I don't know what happened to Jeffrey.
Yeah. Son of a bitch.
Yeah, I don't think he got married or lived a long life. But
Bummer.
Can't confirm that. Also, I know he's technically 17, but he might as well be 40.
It's different back then. You're always older than you actually are.
Yeah.
Ew. Oh, gross. Gross. Can you imagine those? I bet those grave robbers never robbed a grave again.
Oh gosh, I bet. Yeah. There's an alternate theory that it wasn't her husband who died, but one of the grave robbers. Like, somebody dropped dead from seeing that happen.
Yeah. easily.
I would absolutely pass out.
I would have lost all bodily functions.
Can you imagine?
No, that's my worst nightmare. I'm so scared of dead things plus zombies. No, I'm out. I'm done.
She's bleeding profusely. I imagine.
No.
If I don't know if these grave robbers were adept at cutting off body parts, but I bet you it wasn't super bloody because the people were dead. But she's not dead, so I bet you they were first surprised, and then she sits
like the blood flow. Oh my God.
She just sits straight up, screaming her head off. Oh my.
Nope, I have shat myself, and I would hope to die because I would like just never be able to sleep again because that would haunt me.
Okay. First off, you're never going to be in a situation where you say, hey, let's go rob a grave.
Yeah, but unless I have like a quest I have to do to save the world.
What are you talking about?
You just never know.
What quest would you have?
Who knows?
Where you have to, oh boy. Maybe Marjorie was
an ancient relic.
Part of the coffin club that you brought up. Maybe she was just minding her business, waiting for John.
Yeah.
And he didn't show. Maybe she wasn't even sick. We don't have a lot of details, so it's hard to say.
That was the beginning.
That was the first time. She's like, listen,
6 feet under club.
I'm just here waiting for my man and woman confabulation. I don't need you guys cutting my finger off.
Not into that.
Yeah. That throwback to an old episode where Alana blew my mind. People
God,
apparently
what episode was that?
Willingly go in a coffin and are together.
While people watch live stream.
All of the details are awful. Let's stop it. Marjorie McCall lived once, buried twice.
That's like, I love that they did that on her headstone.
I bet you have some issues after that. I bet you maybe you need a nightlight on. Like, do you think she had a night lantern on for the rest of her life?
Claustrophobia, like all of the things.
Can no longer go in the closet. She's gonna need a light on at all times. She probably doesn't love dirt.
Yeah.
I don't know if the finger was reattached. I don't know how.
Probably not.
I don't know how.
We're thinking back then.
Well, I don't know how bad the cut was. Maybe it was fine.
Yeah, if she went and knocked on a door calmly.
Well, I bet you she wasn't in the best mental state. She it's not like she woke up being, I feel refreshed. That was a wonderful nap. She'd just come out of a coma.
Maybe it was though.
For goodness' sake.
I've never come out of one or gone into one.
I guess I haven't either, but I have to assume it doesn't feel great.
I mean, you're uninterrupted sleep though.
It's not sleep. It's not like you're snoozing and you're in your REM cycle.
That's true. Do they have any sleep cycles? All right, that's the third thing we got to look up.
Yeah, I like when you say we. I've done my research for the week. You go hit the books.
We got alarm clocks, we got periods, and we got comas.
Coma. What is the
got a
REM
busy
cycle?
day ahead of me.
How restful is a coma?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, the whole point being, we've only covered these issues in the 1700s and 1800s, and I didn't even realize it was way worse in the 1600s. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, what was the 1500s? I don't want to know.
Gosh, who knows? You know what's funny is sometimes if you go back far,
sometimes it gets better.
Yeah, I know. You go back far enough, and they're like, "Oh, everything was equal."
It's the cadence of like science and religion and art, honestly,
clashing. So
and whenever religion jumps up to the top, it's always scary.
I wanted Anne's story to be told because it was so crazy that she survived it, and they accidentally discovered chest compressions, and and immediately dismissed it and got out the feathers, and that. That's what she had to go through for a miscarriage.
Truly awful.
And I don't even care if she was lying. It's still, even if she knew, I don't care if she knew she was pregnant and had 17 children in living in other towns.
Yeah.
It's none of your business.
None, yeah.
But I really do think she didn't know. And I think that would be easy to have happen in that day and age. And just punishing women like Anne for no reason.
Yep. Correct.
Yeah. All right. Well, what are your last words? Because I kind of just had mine.
Kill me before I go underground.
Yeah. Chris and I will get together and come up with a plan. Why don't you just opt to be cremated?
Well, I'm going to go to science.
Oh, that's right. Well, you're going to scare the shit out of a doctor. And I hope he has a feather handy.
You're not going to need feather. I'm going to be awake.
I'm going to tape a feather. I'm going to put a feather in your casket and be like, just in case. Put a note on it. Be like, just in case you need it. I mean, who are we kidding? I'll die before you, so.
No, you're going to live forever.
Okay. And what else you got besides your funeral arrangements? What other last words do you have?
I mean, I feel like I've talked about it very colorfully, but
yeah, I think
those guys.
I think we've got the F-bombs for the lawmakers of the time. Yeah. All right, then. Well, who should listen?
Oh, God. Doctors, scientists, men who think pregnancy is a walk in the park, or women too. It's not. Let's see. Lawmakers. How about that? And let's throw in ice climbers.
Ice?
Yeah, like Arctic mountain climber people. So, you know the effect of hypothermia.
Yeah, all right then. Okay.
We're here to help.
Is that what we're here for? All right. Well, you can find us on all the platforms at
Tea Time Crimes.
You can email us at
teatimecrimes@gmail.com.
And we will be off next week because Alana will be speaking French to the wolves.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Bonjour, enchanté.
Ça va?
Ça va?
Une femme, un chat.
You have a girl cat?
Yeah.
Wow. The way you say cat is assaulting. And sounds dirty. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. We'll be back the week after that, though. So thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.
Ta-ta.